What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more of the Motors, and we're continuing through the Airport Greatest Hits compilation. Thank you again to Phil, who's provided this journey, which did in fact start as a lucky dip. And the next track in the playlist is Love and Loneliness, which on the one hand sounds like concepts on the opposite ends of the emotional spectrum, and yet as often experienced and certainly famous narratives and art will tell you, they are unfortunately more directly connected and even inextricable than you would otherwise think. Which is further to say, if you feel love but then something happens to it, or if it goes awry, you might then feel more lonely than you ever would have had the love not come along in the first place. You might feel lonely when you're still in love and still in a loving relationship, but the other person is far away or unable to reciprocate. So yes, they are in one way distinct from each other, indeed very different, and yet in other ways they are intertwined and hard to disconnect. So let's see what they say about it in practice. This is the Motors. The tune is Love and Loneliness and is included on a greatest hits compilation from them called Airport. thought it was going to start to fade 2 measures before. I felt that coming, that this is the kind of tune that would just keep running that, and then it like precipitously falls off. But yeah, I thought it was coming a little bit earlier. But yeah, it's a really fun tune. I'd call it keyboard rock, not quite synth rock, though it's interesting, because like parts of the Sonics were making me think this is a real kind of like late 70s tune. But then other parts of the Sonics are like, I can feel the like early 80s vibe here. So yeah, given that I think their lifespan as a group was relatively confined or short, I'm guessing it is straddling the 70s and 80s in sound. But yeah, lots of cool keyboard runs, a very flourishing one, and then there's some like longer chords. I enjoyed the progression. Also, again, the guitar featuring prominently, so with rock elements, keyboard elements, a pretty epic tune. It had a big kind of epic feel to it. Lyrically, I didn't catch everything, but it sounds like a relationship that has gone on a long time, maybe was more clearly loving and passionate at first, and then it had to get more serious, more mature, talking about, we got to get a house together, we have to, move to the next phase of this long-term relationship. And maybe somewhere along the way, it felt lonelier, even if they're still together. It felt like, it's not quite what it used to be, and I think there's a reference to that in terms of, like, is that love still there, or is it just in this photograph, or these photographs, the idea that, again, kind of like Thompson Twins' Hold Me Now, where what we see in the photograph is not the feeling or dynamic that is currently in place, although with that one it's a bit of a twist, because it's like, actually, this is just part of the games that we play, and suddenly it brings everything into the present, and maybe it's not so dire as it sounded. But yeah, it feels like maybe there's something that's been lost relative to what they used to have, but it seems like he's still asking the question, or he's like characterizing this progression and wondering like where they stand. I think it's about more than just them though, because something about like, is it the loneliness in regard to the friends they've made? Like, it feels like, again, it's like their life story, but it's about more than just them or the place they live. It's like the life they've crafted together, including with others who've been part of their life. So, yeah, I don't quite know where it all fits together, but it sounds like it's asking questions of, like, where on this spectrum of love and loneliness they are, and whether both of those things are still true, or whether, the weighting of the two is different than it used to be, and using, again, I think a physical reference to a photograph to, look at a longer timeline in a more condensed way. So, yeah, either way, I enjoyed the vocals. I don't know too much about Bruce Springsteen's catalog, though I have started to go through it and will be going through it pretty routinely or regularly because there's so much to go through. Thank you again to Michaela if you end up seeing this. But like some of the vocal performance here, it has that, bit scratchy, a bit epic, a bit folksy kind of delivery, which I don't remember anything and admittedly I've heard 4 or 5 Motors tunes at this point, so not all that many. But this felt the most distinct vocally in that regard of any of the songs that I've heard thus far. So yeah, I enjoyed the, again, passionate, a bit fiery, a bit scratchy, a bit raspy style delivery of the vocals on this one, which seemed to fit the emotion of the tune. So either way, another cool one. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.